I think one of the most immoral, disingenuous, and disgusting things you could do in politics is to take someone's trauma and try to politicize it, try to profit off of it, try to gain power from it, try to use it as a prop, thinking that you actually are doing something good for it, when in reality, no, you're just using that. And that's exactly what happened to the survivors of a recent school shooting in Colorado that killed one student and injured 8. And during a community vigil that was planned, many people called it a, quote, political stunt. Now, this vigil was organized by Team Enough, which is part of a gun control group called the Bradley Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. This was also attended by 2020 presidential hopeful Senator Michael Bennet, also Democratic Representative Jason Crow, and Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America was also there. And the response wasn't met well with, of course, this larger political stunt that was supposed to be a vigil, but ultimately just tried to push gun control. Jason, this is an incredible story. Should we just play some of the clip here? Because the video speaks for itself, and it really just speaks volumes to the audacity of politicians who just want power over you to take away your rights.
Remember the victims quickly turned into a political statement.
Their job is not to fix America's broken gun laws.
The messages from Colorado Senator and newly announced presidential candidate Michael Bennet, along with Representative Jason Crow, not sitting well with students.
You sent me to Washington to speak the truth. So here it is.
Pause it there.
We are failing.
The vigil.
You sent me. Why is it about you? How self-centered are you? How crazy are you that during a vigil for a young man who's a hero, by the way, like this young man who stopped the shooter, jumped on him, risked, sacrificed his life for the safety of his fellow students. This man needs to be remembered. But you, the bureaucratic skunk, are going to come on there and be like, hey, me, I'm in Washington. That's sick, Jason. Absolutely sick. Let's keep playing it here.
Vigil was hosted by Team Enough and Moms Demand Action, two gun control groups.
We became paralyzed by the NRA. We did not hold our elected officials accountable as they were loosening the sensible gun regulations that were keeping us safe.
By the end of the night, students were fed up.
We are calling for more mental health resources, not sitting here and talking and preaching to you about gun control.
So they walked out.
Look at that response.
Students here.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
Right.
Like the whole crowd erupted, Jason.
What's that?
People didn't want a campaign rally. They didn't want to be preached to. That kid makes perfect sense, and that crowd reaction speaks volumes. It's incredible. Let's keep playing it.
Leaving?
Chanting in the hallway.
Mental health! Mental health!
And parents followed them.
It was about politicians asking for votes, saying, rah, rah, we want to go to the Congress.
These students wanted no part in that, instead hoping to grieve their loss before political movements make them move on.
Now, certainly these students have a lot to process.
Let's just end it there for a second. Listen, let's talk about this. First of all, I don't know what they were thinking. This is Colorado. This is an open carry state, okay?
Yeah, but these are local politicians, Jason.
Well, I get it, but in Colorado, it's an open carry state. These people grew up with guns. They also grew up with the people who were the shooters, okay? And let's make no mistake about it. They were crazy kids. They're probably heavily medicated, and one of them identified and was transitioning into a man, but it was a woman. And you notice that the left hasn't really talked about this. The media hasn't talked about this because it is a mental health issue. Those students went to school with these people. Wasn't like they were on the up and up. They knew there was something wrong, period. And I've discussed this again and again and again. If you are so uncomfortable in your own skin that you are considering transitioning into another gender, there's something going on in your head. Gender dysmorphia is literally classified as a mental health issue. And when you have a large group of well-educated people that have been around guns their entire life and a tragedy like this happens, the last thing they want to do is be exploited when there is a real issue to be talked about. And that issue, again, I mean, you look at these kids, the one kid in court, the other one who was 18, this person, Alec McKinney, was 16. You know, they took Kendrick Castillo's life and tried to take others. This person crying in court, in court. You did something disgusting.
Well, Jason, this is why I'm so critical of mainstream culture promoting the sexualization and this whole bigger agenda of children, because, again, it creates a lot of other problems out there. Now, of course, we're not saying that this is the main reason, this is the main problem, all of this happened. We're not saying that at all. This is a multifaceted problem that can't just be pinpointed to one thing, can't be just represented by a politician saying, vote, vote, vote for me, give me power, I will take away your rights and make everything go better, make everything better. Again, these kids were promised the vigil. They had to have an impromptu vigil. All of these kids are saying, hey, stop trying to politicize the trauma here. Again, we don't know exactly what happened here, but it's important to look at other circumstances. There's a reason the kids here were screaming mental health during this rally. They were chanting it because let's look at the facts here. Depression amongst kids has gone up more than double what it was in 2008. When we're talking about suicides, those have also dramatically increased within the last few decades. And if politicians actually cared about kids' life, they wouldn't only just talk about that. They would also talk about car accidents and accidents with cars that lead to the majority of the mortality rate of children. But again, especially teenagers. And again, that conversation's not had, but they're going to sit there and pretend on the podium that they care about you and that they're going to prevent all of this if you just give them power. It's the most delusional, asinine, stupidest, immoral thing that I have seen here. And it's really disgusting, Jason.
Well, again, to point to the mental health issue, when they went to the one of the shooter's homes, the suspect's homes, they found a car with F Society spray painted on it. The other side had 666 on it, and the hood had a pentagram on it. Again, if this does not scream of mental health issues, and not so, there's lashing out. We've all been teenagers. We've all been there. We've all felt down, abandoned, alone. We go through those things. And who knows, maybe we do destructive things. But when those destructive things start being about taking other people's lives, it's unacceptable. I don't care how bad your life is. And by the way, your life is not that bad. You're making decisions for you. Yes, you have a limited scope when you're under the thumb of your parents, but you have to work to get yourself out of there. You have to become an adult, a reasonable person. And no reasonable person, no mentally healthy person is going to march into a school with guns and try to take the lives of other innocent people. And this Kendrick Castillo, he and another student, the other student did survive. Again, it should have been about him and the loss of him and the possible loss of the others that were injured. And focusing on that. And again, when you have the anti-NRA groups organizing this, and you have high-level politicians attending, one of which who's trying to make a run for president, of course it's going to be politicized, but boy, did they choose the wrong place to do it, Luke.
Yeah, there does deserve to be a conversation, and I'm all about having a dialogue. And if you believe gun control could stop, yeah, you could talk, but don't promise kids a vigil. Don't say this is a vigil, and then try to politicize it again. The broader conversation, again, in my opinion, should be SSRI, should be mental health, should be depression. All of this should be looked into. All of this should be talked about, but not during a vigil for a young man who lost his life saving countless numbers of students. And it's a man who was days away from graduating that does deserve to be mourned, does deserve to be respected, does deserve to be looked up to, and not just used as a political pawn for power. And to me, this is crazy that this even happened. I'm happy that these kids called it out when it happened. I'm happy that they're having their own vigils right now. I'm happy that they're standing up for themselves as individuals and saying, hey, politicians, stop using us like you have been using us for your own demented power to do whatever you choose to do. Again, it's all on an individual basis here, and these politicians deserve to be called out. That's my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. And other than that, Jason, I don't know if I have anything else to say.